Good morning, I'm Scott Rudler, Chief Strategic Officer of T3Live.com.
And I'm Jill Malandrina with The Street, and together we bring you the Morning Call Express. Scott, what turned out to be a relatively slow holiday week is really not that at all. We had China cut rates, we had ECB repurchase some assets, and now Bank of England took down rates 0.25%. So will this make the rally sustainable? Do you think there's still room here?
We've seen a nice rally since last Friday, and since then, every piece of news has been somewhat negative. Every piece of news has said growth slowing, but sometimes mechanics takes over. You had the end of the quarter, you had new flows, you had hopes that today would come into play and that they would give more stimulus. And I think that today was enough that it might try and hold up. I don't think, I think the central bank, if they would have done a half,
right,
maybe it would have been like another short squeeze into resistance and made it real easy for those looking to short. But I think today makes it interesting where they're going to try and hold it up. If you look at the chart of the SPX, you will see that we've had quite a move here, from this inverted head and shoulders pattern with the left shoulder, the head, the right shoulder. You take a close look. We've talked so many times about this 1306 to 1309 holding. Then you had the summit when we ignited above this 1330, and now we're extending higher. So I do think this 1380 to 1400 area, I'd rather see you sell some and take some profits into this area than just trying to initiate new longs. And I would use, Tuesday's high as a pivot, and that's 1374, which is right here.
So not only do we have the interest rate decisions that were made this morning, we also have a lot of jobs data that's coming out in addition to oil and natty numbers, and it's also same-store sales. There's a lot to look at today, especially as we question the health of the consumer. But one thing we haven't looked at in a while, and we'll talk about more of this in the sector spotlight, is gold and silver. We haven't touched on those commodities in a while.
Well, they've been just, getting tighter. We've had two different trends. We've talked about the macro trend, which has been intact for gold. Gold for the last decade has been methodically going higher. Now you've about $400 off the high. Last Friday, it ignited off that support we were talking about. If you go to gold real quickly, you will see that, we've talked about the different trends colliding, and this 148.5 has been holding higher, but then you have this intermediate trend line that stands right around 158. If we get through 158 finally, you then have 162, then you have 166. So here's a short-term trend line, more intermediate. Here's your macro trend line, and if you look at the monthly chart, it's still intact, still holding higher. So, you have a lot of interesting action right there.
In the long call version of the morning call, we're going to dive into the trenches and take a look at the IPO names. Scott's been really helpful in terms of teaching us how to trade once these get out of the gate, but we definitely have to take a look at Facebook.
Yes, Facebook, a lot of people wrote it off for dead right after it came public, but it just was a, faulty open. If you look at the chart though, and you did it methodically, you made some money here. So if you go to Facebook, you will see on this chart, on the daily, this is when you had the nice little reversal. 2810 was your push. It topped out around 33 or so right there, and now it's trying to hold. So I'm actually long some Facebook. My stop here is 30.55. If it could start to break above this small little, new little descending trend line above 30.70, I do think it can continue. So right now, traders are looking at it because it's pretty methodical right there.
And let's wrap up the Morning Call Express with a look at Apple. We started playing with the 600 range on Tuesday, which is something that we haven't seen for a while. And I know call activity has been really active in the 600 strike on Monday and Tuesday as well.
Apple's in a short-term tough spot because it just had about a $28 move. We talked about, a lot of guys got in there on Friday, and then really the tactical play was when it went through 584 on Monday. So now at 600, do you initiate? And actually, I think it's 603 right now at the market futures. I think, tactically you sell some on a macro level, you hold it, take a quick look at the chart. You will see, it had a really nice move right here, this little descending channel. Okay, came in, held support, boom, it recrossed above this. And then really, I think most guys got a little bit heavier right here when it crossed above 584. That was on the price point sheet. So now, after a 3-day, almost 30-point move up a little bit, tactically you sell some, but overall, I do still think this is a macro hold.
All right, guys. Well, have a great day trading, everyone. Remember, we're going to have a lot of thin volume, actually a little bit of thin volume because we have a holiday week, but we have a lot of headlines that we have to pay attention to. Catch Scott as he wraps up the day for us on Real Money, Options, Profits, and T3Live.com.
Hi, I'm Sean Hendelman, CEO of T3 Live, where we train, coach, and mentor traders in order to help you put your money to work with confidence. The T3 Live approach is a blueprint for you to recognize, adapt, and ultimately take advantage of different market conditions. To begin your training with T3 Live, we would like to offer you the opportunity to enroll in our free 30-day online home study course. Fill in your name and email address, and I'll see you on the other side.